And greetings YouTube gamers, welcome to another episode of Retro Raider. My name is Johnny Retro and welcome to the channel. So as you can see guys, today's episode is going to be about the Nintendo 64. I do have a lot of great memories with this system. I mean, this was my very first home console by Nintendo. And I got it at a very late stage. When I got into the Nintendo 64, the system was practically, over. It was at the very end of the lifespan of the N64, but I did play this console a lot with my friends. My memories go way back into my early days in school. I had a friend that he had a Sega Saturn and I had a PS1, and I remember that his sister got the Nintendo 64 for her birthday just a couple of weeks after the system was released. But at the end of the day, his sister was not a big fan of video games, and we lived very close to each other, so we got the chance to play this a lot. And nowadays, although I don't collect a lot for the N64, there are not many games I'm looking for right now for the Nintendo 64, but it's always good to remember these memories. So today we're going to take a closer look of my N64 collection. It is a very humble collection. I don't own a lot of things, but I feel very proud with the stuff that I gathered, along the years. So sit back, relax, and let's take a closer look of my Nintendo 64 collection right after this. Okay, to start out, this is my original N64. This is the limited edition that came with the gold controller, which I have right here. And of course that it came with GoldenEye. Now, I must say here, I'm not the biggest fan of GoldenEye because, I'm not a big first-person shooter fan to begin with, but this is an iconic game on the Nintendo 64. And it is a game that it has changed the genre completely. There's not much I can say about it. I mean, this is a mandatory game for every N64 collector. And of course that if you like first-person shooters, you need to play this game. Now, usually I don't like to have doubles, but I got two N64s. As you can see, I also have the Pikachu edition. This console belonged to my girlfriend and her sister. This is the system they grew up with, and they found it after a couple of years and they gave it to me. I also have the Pokemon controller right here, and I think they still have the original box in the attic, but beggars can be choosers, and I'm not complaining here. Okay, next I have a boxed Nintendo 64 controller. When it comes to the Nintendo 64, guys, we all know that there's not such thing as too many controllers. Now, let me have more space here. Now, this is something that I brought from Germany last year, and what this is pretty much, it is a region-free adapter. So with this, I can play imported games on my PAL N64. I found this at a retro gaming store in Hanover, and the funny thing is that I still haven't tried it out yet. I don't have imported games, but it was just €3, so I had to have it. I also have this. This is a promotional VHS tape for the Nintendo 64. This one is in Portuguese, and these are actually a little bit hard to find these days. The thing is that I don't remember when or how I got this. I think it came with the gaming magazine, but I'm not sure, but it says right here, free of charge. Let me know in the comment section below, guys, if you remember this. Now, this is where the fun begins, my N64 games. First off, we got Mario Party 2. Not a big fan of Mario Party games, but this was another game that my girlfriend and her sister gave it to me. Now, this one, unfortunately, I only have a loose copy of it. Super Mario 64. What can I say about Mario 64? First of all, it is my favorite Mario game. And the story that I told you in the beginning of the video, about my friend's sister and how she got the Nintendo 64. This, of course, was the game that she got, and we just played the hell out of this game. And I remembered that there was a TV show in the 90s, a Portuguese TV show about gaming. It was called Templo dos Jogos, which translated to Temple of Games. And I think that on that show, the guys were just a little bit picky about the games, on their reviews and stuff. And I remembered that this was the first game on that show that got a max score. I think it was 100 out of 100.
E pela primeira vez na história do Templo dos Jogos, vamos dar uso ao 100% e atribuí-lo com louvor e distinção ao Super Mario 64.
And it was well deserved. Iconic game on the Nintendo 64 and a iconic Mario game, Mario 64. as a huge Pokemon fan, of course that I had to have Pokemon Stadium. I used to dream about a game like this. I grew up with Pokemon on the Game Boy and you know, those games are good, but I've always dreamed with a Pokemon game, you know, with good graphics, you know, something that I could play on TV, you know, on a home console. And this was the game to play. This version is 100% complete with the transfer pack, and you need to have the transfer pack. I just love the fact that I could play my Pokemon games, you know, my Game Boy Pokemon games on the N64 and use my team, the team that I was building, on the tournaments. For me, this is a must-have on the system, Pokemon Stadium. Now, these are all completed in boxed as well. This is how I like to collect for the Nintendo 64. Let's start out with 1080 degrees snowboarding. Not a big fan of sports games, but this one is actually very good. I think this was also released on the PS1, I'm not sure, but I think it was. Now, the next one, Army Man Sarge's Heroes. I absolutely love this game. One of my favorite animated movies of all time is Toy Story. And my favorite characters on that movie is the Army Man. I actually used to play with Army Man when I was a kid. And this game was kind of a dream come true for a kid like me, because you play with Army Man. Love this game, this is a lot of fun, and if you haven't played it yet and you do own an N64, definitely pick this one up. Good thing is that this is a cheap game. Next one. This is one of my favorite platformers of all time, BanjoKazooie. Another game that I used to play a lot with my friends. Growing up with the PS1, I play a lot of Crash Bandicoot. And at the time, you know, besides Mario 64, there was not a single 3D platformer that could stand against Crash. Until I played this one. If you're starting out in retro gaming, if you like 3D platformers, you need to play BanjoKazooie. So many hours of fun with this title right here. Unfortunately, I don't have the sequel yet, BanjoTooie, but that's one game that I definitely want to have on my N64 collection. So yeah, BanjoKazooie, an eternal classic on the Nintendo 64. Next we have Diddy Kong Racing. I like Mario Kart, I used to play a lot of that game on the Super Nintendo. If you like Mario Kart, if you like Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong, you really can't go wrong with this game. Very fun game indeed, and at the time, I mean, these graphics were amazing. I think this game is one of the best racing games on the N64. Next we have Mission Impossible. Big fan of the movie, and the game is alright. I remember playing this game on the PS1 as well, but I don't have it for the PS1, but I do have it for the N64. Expect the impossible. Next one. Road Rash 64. I'm a huge fan of Road Rash, and I know that a lot of people don't like Road Rash on the N64, but I actually enjoyed this game a lot. Used to play this a lot when I was a kid. Very cool game to play in 4-player mode, and honestly I think this is one of the best art covers on the N64 library. This cover right here screams 90s. Very cool game indeed. Road Rash 64. Next, this is a goofy one. South Park. I grew up watching South Park, and this game at the time I thought that it was so bad that it is good. But I do enjoy the game. I mean, if you like South Park, you need to play this game. It is a very goofy game, of course. It is what you expect from a South Park game. But at the time, I think that this game represented the series very well. If you guys want to have a couple of laughs thanks to a game, definitely play South Park on the N64. Next, we have Turok. One of my favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park. That was the movie that really got me into movies. So growing up as a kid, you know, I was into everything that had dinosaurs. And like it says right here, the premise is very simple. You play as a dinosaur hunter. Very fun action-adventure game. At the time it was very cool that you could play this in first person and third person. And I used to play a lot of Jurassic Park on the Mega Drive. I've also played, you know, Dino Crisis on the PS1, and I love this game as well. And another game that I'm missing on my collection is the sequel to this one. Next we got V-Rally. Honestly, I don't remember how I got this game. It probably came bundled with something else, because I'm not a huge fan of, you know, racing games. But I do have it on the collection, so V-Rally Edition 99. Last but not least, probably one of the best games on the N64. It was the very first Zelda game that I've played, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. When I got my N64 back in the day, aside from Mario 64, this was the game that I wanted to play. Pretty much like the Nintendo Switch nowadays, you know, with Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. But if you liked Zelda, you know, this was the game to play back in the day. It was the first 3D Zelda game, and it is considered by a lot of fans the best Zelda game of all time. Personally, I prefer A Link to the Past, but this one has a special place in my heart, because it was the first that I played. It is a beautiful adventure indeed. I love the story of the game, and I remember at the time that, you know, the graphics and the gameplay of this game, you know, just blew me away. Still don't have Majora's Mask though. And if you guys are starting out in Legend of Zelda, you know, especially on the retro department, this in my opinion is a very good place to start. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And there you go, guys. Please let me know what you guys think about my N64 collection. I would also like to know your memories with this system. Do you collect for it? And please feel free to leave me some advice. You know, hidden gems on the system. What games do you think that I should pick for my N64 library? So leave your thoughts on the comment section below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to put a like on this video. Please subscribe to the channel and take care of yourselves, take care of the gaming community, and game a lot.